Hello and welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. It's nearly time for part 2 of the Sir Alex Ferguson podcast. If you haven't listened to episode 1 yet, you'll need to listen to that before starting this episode. But, as always, we need to do some messages and some shout-outs before we get into it. The first one says, "Hi, we love listening to your podcast. We are big Manchester United fans. We live in Silgo in North West Ireland. We especially love your episode on goalkeepers. Please do a podcast on Anthony that plays for Manchester United and David De Gea. From Alfie, 8 years old, and Patrick, 6 years old." Well, thank you very much for your message, boys, and thank you for your requests. As always, they've been added to the list, so please keep listening, and one day, those episodes will come out. The next one says, "Hi Darren, my name is Josh, and I'm from Barcelona. I'm 9 years old, and I love the podcast. I want to give a shout out to my football friends, Nacho and Iker. We play for FC Martinenc. Could you do an episode on Swansea City, because my dad is a fan of them? My favourite episode was the Merseyside derby because I'm a Liverpool fan. Thank you." Well, thank you very much, Josh, for your message, and thank you for being a listener. Who would have thought that there's Swansea City fans over in Barcelona? As always, those have been added to the list, so do keep listening. And the next one is a big shout out to a 7-year-old called Alex Crabtree and his dad, Ian Crabtree. Alex plays for Haitian Blue Stars under 8s. And his dad is their brilliant and wonderful football manager. They listen to the podcast every night, and Alex's favourite episodes is Haaland the Goal Machine and the one on Lionel Messi. Well, hello to Alex and Ian and all the family. Thank you very much for being listeners. Please do keep listening and sharing the podcast. There's many more episodes to come. And the last one on this episode is a special one, because it comes from Artie, who's 6 years old and is a massive fan of the podcast. And I've got to say, Artie has written me a brilliant letter with handwriting, which is much better than mine. And it reads, "Hi Darren, I really love your podcast. My favourite episode is Kylian Mbappe. Please may you do an episode on Mbappe versus Haaland and another one on Roberto Carlos. May you do an episode on Maradona. Your biggest fan right from the start, Artie O'Brien." Well, Artie, thank you very much for taking the time and making the effort to write a proper letter. I really appreciate it, and it's great to know that you've been listening to the podcast from the start and that you're really enjoying all of the episodes. That's it for the shout-outs this week, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so by sending an email to footballforkidspodcast@gmail.com. Right, it's time to get into part 2 of the wonderful story about the magnificent, the inspiring, the truly terrific Sir Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson's very first job as a football manager was with a Scottish team called East Stirlingshire, a team which didn't even have a goalkeeper when he started managing them. He then went to another Scottish club called St Mirren's, and he took them from the bottom of the Second League to the First Division champions. Alex was only managing football half of his time, and it wasn't a proper job until he was asked to be a full-time football manager and jumped at the opportunity to manage a club in Scotland called Aberdeen. When Alex took over at Aberdeen, one of the things which he quickly noticed is that a lot of the players, if not all of them, didn't quite have the belief that they could be super successful and beat the top teams in the division, like his old club Rangers and the other big club, Celtic. Aberdeen played Rangers in the first season and they were not beaten for a change. They got a draw. And afterwards, the players couldn't believe it. They were jumping up and down and going crazy with excitement. Alex Ferguson said to them, "What on earth are you lot celebrating for? We got a draw. We didn't win." Drawing was not good enough for Sir Alex. He was a winner, and winning is what mattered to him. From that moment on, under the leadership of Alex Ferguson, things changed at Aberdeen Football Club. The players would train on the beach in the bitter cold and when it was raining sideways. He would have them working their socks off. He did everything to install a winning mentality into them. He did it all to make them act and believe like winners. And in November 1979, Aberdeen played Rangers again. And they beat them. Aberdeen then played Celtic and they beat them. A team that worked so hard and believed in themselves so much that they went on to play in the European Cup. Not only that, they shocked the world by beating Bayern Munich 3-2. They went on to play the best team in the world at the time, Real Madrid, in the European Cup final. Could they do it? Could a fairly small football club on the coast of Scotland be European champions? They didn't even have a training ground when Alex took over. Could they beat the best club on the planet? Yep, you bet they could. Aberdeen beat Real Madrid 2-1 whilst Alex Ferguson was managing them. Under Ferguson, Aberdeen ended up winning the Scottish Premiership 3 times, the Scottish Cup 4 times, and they stormed Europe. As a manager, he made them understand that they could be winners, but it required hard work, commitment, and never giving up attitude, and that if they believed in themselves, they could do it. After a huge amount of success at Aberdeen, Alex got the call to manage Manchester United. They were not doing well and were 19th place after the 13 games. Manchester United needed someone with a winner's attitude, and Alex was their man. Manchester United hadn't won the league for 20 years, and they were desperate to achieve more. One of the first things that Alex did at Manchester United was to build the youth teams up. He knew that if he could get the best young players into the club, that they could and they would deliver in the future. In his first season for the club, nothing was quite going right for Alex. They lost many big games and were just not working right. It was an extremely frustrating time for him. The following couple of seasons didn't really get any better. In fact, things got terrible. Tens of thousands of the fans would be chanting, "Fergie out, Fergie out, Fergie out." Alex had to soak it all up and find a way to win. Could he do it? Manchester United were due to play in the FA Cup, and it was being said that if they didn't win, then Alex would be out of a job. Manchester United played Nottingham Forest and they beat them. They kept on winning after that and they made the FA Cup final. At last there was some success for the club. Manchester United won the FA Cup and Alex had the team believing in themselves. After that, Manchester United went on to win the league over and over again. They won the FA Cup, they won the league and the FA Cup in the same season. And in 1999, Alex Ferguson's Manchester United won the FA Cup, the league, and were in the final for the European Cup. Fergie had his eyes on winning the treble. Manchester United were in the final against a very dangerous Bayern Munich. They went 1-0 down due to a Munich free kick. Bayern Munich were constantly flying at the goal in the last quarter of the game, hitting the crossbar and the post. United were 1-0 down and staring in the eyes of defeat. And with 3 minutes left of the game, the team worked together. They believed together and they gave it everything together. Manchester United won a corner. The ball landed with a player called Teddy Sheringham. And boom! He made it 1-1. Alex Ferguson bounced around on the sidelines like a kid at a trampoline park. A couple of minutes later, another corner goes to Manchester United. Alex Ferguson was screaming at the players to stay calm. The corner gets whipped in. Eventually, the ball ends up with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He gets the ball and belts it into the back of the net. Manchester United win the game 2-1 and they win the treble. One of the most incredible games of football in the history of the sport. is won by Alex Ferguson's Manchester United. Alex Ferguson went on to win 895 games as a manager. He won the Premier League 13 times. He won numerous other trophies, tournaments, cups and awards. He managed the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Eric Cantona, David Beckham, Peter Schmeichel and so many others. He didn't just manage them though. He made them believe in themselves. He made them work as a team and he made them winners. Alex had a roller coaster of a career and he never gave up when things got tough. And he is proof that if you want to achieve something, that with hard work, determination, self-belief and a never giving up attitude, anything is possible. I hope that you've enjoyed listening and learning about probably the greatest manager that's ever lived, Sir Alex Ferguson. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.